Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's online service here at Eagles Nest. Today's January 3rd, 2021. It's the last Sunday of our 2-week break from live services. We've just celebrated the stars of Christmas, and now as we enter a new year, our goal is hopefully to be able to together strengthen our faith and let go of fear. In the new year, we ask that you reflect inward and allow God's Spirit to lead you into 2021. So let's spend the next few moments together in worship and all invite God to enter into every corner of our hearts. Are you holding on to areas of your life that you need to surrender? Let's all learn to let go of that control together and let God begin a new work in each of us this coming year. Happy New Year, everyone. 2021 is here. Please enjoy the service.
Please stand with us. I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my turn till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my turn till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. Now your mercy has saved my soul, and now your freedom is all that I know. The old made new, Jesus, when I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. Welcome to Eagles Nest. I'm so glad you're here. I'll tell you what, after a week of a lot of uncertainty, I think that pretty much covers it. Let's come into God's house, stand before Him, proclaim His truth, proclaim who He is together. Yes? Together. All right, these next few words, I want you to sing this with me. This depicts my story so much, it might actually depict your story as well. I need a rescue. My sin was heavy. The chains break at the weight of your glory. I need a shelter. I was an orphan, and you called me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing. Your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future. My eyes are open, 'cause when you call my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness.
faithfulness is clear to see. It's constant every day. In the morning you sing over me, and I receive your mercy. Your faithfulness is clear to see. Oh, it's constant every day. Every breath I breathe, an invitation to believe you are creating something good. Though this season doesn't tell my story, I know you move mountains for me, 'cause you're just that good. So I'll give thanks to God when I don't have enough, 'cause He's more than enough, and He knows what I need. So I'll give thanks to God when I don't have enough, 'cause He's more than enough, and He knows what I need. In the silence I choose to believe that you're working in the waiting. Though the future isn't clear to me, I will trust you anyway. Every breath I breathe, an invitation to believe you are creating something good. And though the season doesn't tell my story, I know you move mountains for me, 'cause you're just that good. So I'll give thanks to God when I don't have God's not worried. So why do I worry? Oh, God's not worried. So why do I worry? Oh, God's not worried. So why do I worry? My God's not worried. So why do I worry? Oh, God's not worried. So why do I worry? My God's not worried. So why do I worry? Oh, God's not worried. So why do I worry? Oh, God's not worried. So why do I worry? And I'll give thanks to God when I don't have enough. 'Cause He's more than enough, and He knows what I need. So I'll give thanks to God when I don't have enough. 'Cause He's more than enough, and He knows what I need. Oh, I won't worry.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to those of you worshiping with us online in our online campus. Happy New Year. 2020 is finally behind us. Can I hear an amen? Let me ask you, how many of you were afraid of the dark when you were growing up? I hate to admit it, but at times I was. Then one day I got married, and now I'm not afraid of the dark anymore. I have Patty to protect me. Now I'm brave and bold on a real dark night. And that's unless she's on a trip, then I sleep with a little light on and a gun on my nightstand. I'm just kidding. Let's be honest. There is something creepy about darkness, especially if we're alone. In my early days here at Eagles Nest, I was the youth pastor, and we took a group of youth to a place called the Sinks of Gandhi. It was a cave, and we took our entire youth group through that cave, and we got most of them out. It was the first time, now we got all of them out. It was the first time I had ever been in total darkness. You could hear people talk right in front of you, but you couldn't see anything. It was really freaky. I really didn't like it. I still remember as we got to the end of the cave, there was a crack in the rock just near the entrance of the cave, but the cave wasn't open yet, but there was a crack in the rock, and it let a faint light or glow of light come in. It was a joy just to see that faint glow of light. After a couple hours in total darkness, boy, it was a welcome sight. I think that's how many of us feel about 2020. COVID made 2020 a dark year. And sure enough, at the end of 2020, the light began to shine as we began to hear about the vaccine. And most of us can't wait to get out of this dark cave and to bask in the light. Now, last week, we challenged you to make being faithful, that's full with 2 L's, your 2021 New Year's resolution. Instead of being fearful, that's full with 2 L's, fearful or full of fear, let's be faithful, filled with faith, instead of filled with fear in the coming year. However, it's easier to make that resolution than it is to live it. So this morning we're going to begin a new series called How to Keep a New Year's Resolution. The reality is that most of the resolutions that we make are forgotten by the end of January. This year, we want to keep that from happening. We want to be able to be faith-filled in the 2020 and not fear-filled in 2021. Ironically, we need to start with patience. Patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. And when it comes to keeping a New Year's resolution, we'll have to have patience with ourselves. Change isn't easy. It's a process of failing forward. There will be times in our lives when we will be, over the course of next year, filled with fear and not filled with faith. But failure isn't final. It's called learning. We want to fail forward, so to speak. And we will need patience with ourselves because we will have those moments. But we'll also need patience this year because the darkness of 2020 probably won't be dispelled overnight in 2021. And let's be honest, none of us really want patience. The other day, my grandson Jason asked Patty for a snack while she was busy doing something in the kitchen. And so Patty responded to Jason by saying, "You'll have to be patient and wait, Jason." His response was classic. He said, "But I don't want to be patient." You gotta love kids' honesty because they speak what they feel. Now, the Bible is filled with stories of how God brought His people through dark times. And one of them is actually Christmas. Yes, the first Christmas was actually a very dark time, just like ours. There was political darkness, and we do face political darkness today. And there was real and present danger in the first Christmas story. And yes, COVID is real and it's dangerous. When Jesus was born, the light came into a very dark world, and yet it took a while for that light to dispel the darkness. And Joseph and Mary themselves needed patience to ride out the real and present dangers in their lives. It will take patience in 2021 while we wait for the political darkness to lift. When the wise men paraded into Jerusalem on that first Christmas, they walked into a very dark and dangerous political situation. Herod was the king of Israel, and he played a very important political role in the Roman Empire. Israel was technically outside the Roman Empire at this time, and it served as a buffer kingdom between the Roman Empire and Parthia, Rome's greatest adversary. Israel was kind of like a neutral zone. Any change in Herod's kingdom had the potential to throw off the balance of power in that region. This is why in Matthew 2:3, it says, when Herod the king heard that the wise men had shown up asking to see the newborn king of the Jews, he was troubled and all Jerusalem with him. Herod was troubled because his illegitimate claim, he was an illegitimate king. He was not really a descendant of David. And so he had an illegitimate claim to the throne. Well, upon hearing that a rival had been born, he knew what this meant. And Herod would do anything to hold on to his power. And the people also knew that Herod would do anything to hold on to his power, and so they were troubled. For instance, many years earlier, Herod had his wife Marimene, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. He had her killed because he feared she was plotting a coup. According to historians, she was the only person Herod ever really loved, but he loved power more. He also had her two sons, Alexander and Aristobulus, killed for the same reason. Herod wanted power. He loved power. So when the wise men showed up in town, it caused a lot of trouble because Herod was the king of that kingdom. He played a very important role in the Roman Empire, and his power was being threatened. So when the wise men came rolling into town on December 25th, 2 BC, they threw gasoline on a political fire. Herod was already uptight when the wise men showed up because he was dealing with a new coup attempt by his son Antipater. At the very time that Jesus was born, Antipater was actually plotting to assassinate his own father. As they say, like father, like son. Adding insult to injury, around this time, Herod became very ill with the sickness that would take his life. Knowing that he was dying and that the people hated him, and they did hate him, and in order to make sure that there was mourning and weeping at his funeral, Herod came up with a dark and diabolical plan. He began to gather up prominent Jewish leaders from all over Israel, and he brought them to Jericho. Upon his death, he ordered that they would be executed. Why? So people would cry at his funeral. Now, folks, that's pretty dark. Then, seeing that the wise men didn't return to him, he authorized the killing of all the babies in Bethlehem. This is found in Matthew chapter 2, verses 16 through 18. Fortunately for Joseph and Mary, an angel had warned them to flee to Egypt before this took place. And it's interesting that in Matthew 2:13, when the angel appeared to him and to Joseph, he did not use the customary greeting of an angel. Do you know what that is? Customary greeting of an angel in the Bible is fear not, but the angel doesn't start with fear not. He tells them to rise and to go to Egypt. And we talked about that last week. And so if you missed that sermon, You might want to check that out as we looked at the role of fear and the place that it plays in our lives. And it's a very important role, and sometimes we misunderstand it. And so while Joseph, Mary, and Jesus were in Egypt, Herod died. The Bible tells us in Matthew chapter 2, verse 19, "Now when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, telling them that they could come back." Now the angel of the Lord had them stay in Egypt until the political darkness had passed. They had to patiently wait for the darkness to pass. There was nothing they could do but wait. And likewise, we find ourselves after 9 months of COVID in a time of political darkness. But as bad as it is, it's not as bad as what Joseph, Mary, and Jesus faced on for first Christmas. And unlike them, there are things we can do. Yes, I will go on record as saying that many political leaders have overreached. I really believe that. I won't say which ones, but there's definitely an overreach. I'll also go on record as saying that there's a time to take a stand. But I believe before we do, we need to check our hearts to make sure we aren't acting out of anger. Remember, patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. Patience is not laying down like a lamb and letting our political leaders do whatever they want. I'm not saying that. Patience is not inactivity or doing nothing. Patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay. And folks, we're probably going to see some delays in 2021. Trouble, we'll probably see some trouble or maybe even suffering without getting angry or upset. I'm not asking you to agree with me or anyone else on what stands you should or shouldn't take. That's not what we're talking about today. What I'm saying is this, is that whatever stands you take in 2021, don't take them out of anger. If you can't take a stand without anger, at least consider that you might not yet be ready to take that stand. For the Bible tells us that anger only begets anger, and we don't need any more anger. As the book of Proverbs tells us, a soft answer turns away wrath or anger, but a harsh word stirs up anger. It will take patience in 2021 as we wait for the political darkness to lift. It will take patience in 2021 as we wait for the present danger of COVID to lift. Remember, patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble, or suffering without getting angry or upset. And we're all sick and tired of the restrictions COVID has put on our lives. But throwing caution to the wind in anger is not only unbiblical, it's foolish and self-destructive. Notice that in the Christmas story, the angel had Joseph and Mary wait till the danger had passed before he let them go home. It says in verse 19 of chapter 2 of Matthew, "Now when Herod was dead, behold, an angel of the Lord appeared in a dream to Joseph in Egypt, saying, Arise, take the young child and his mother, and go to the land of Israel, for those who sought the young child's life are dead. Then he arose, took the young child and his mother, and came to the land of Israel." The wise men, according to Ernest Martin in the book The Star That Astonished the World, came to Bethlehem on December 25th, 2 BC. Herod died about a month later, sometime around January 28th of 1 BC. Just 5 days, Herod actually died just 5 days after executing his own son Antipater, who had been plotting to kill him. At that 5-day period before he died, Herod changed his will to make Archelaus, who's mentioned in verse 22, the heir to his throne. All this was going on at the time that Jesus was born. That's why the angel had Joseph take Jesus and Mary to Egypt. But the danger had not yet passed. Though Herod died, his plan to kill the leaders, it was not carried out. Thank God it wasn't carried out. But Archelaus followed him as king in his father's place. Archelaus was a violent leader, just like his father. Just 2 months after his father's death, this would be around March of 1 BC, during Passover, his leadership actually led to a revolt. And Archelaus struck down 3,000, think about this, 3,000 worshipers in the temple precincts. Things got so bad that they actually canceled Passover for the rest of that year. And that was a big deal back in Israel. That was a major holiday, kind of like canceling Christmas. It was bigger than that. Now, after this revolt was quelled, Archelaus traveled to Rome to get his crown by the Emperor Augustus, who had been watching all this stuff and hearing reports. And while he was gone, more revolts broke out in Israel. leading to what's called the War of Varus. This threatened not only Israel, but the entire Roman Empire. The point I'm trying to make is it was a dark time. There was a lot of things going on during that first Christmas season. Now, this war lasted till about spring or through the spring and summer of that year, and probably in through to early fall. So in my opinion, the angel did not tell Joseph and Mary to return till after this war was over. Why would he do that? And so if we just kind of generalize this, they would have been returning sometime between September and December of the following year. Now, Jesus is around 2 years old at this time, and this is almost a year after the wise men had showed up. The point that we're trying to make is this. There are times that God has us wait while real and present danger lifts or passes. And even though Joseph got divine direction, he still listened to his fear. It says, but when he heard this. Now, so Joseph's in Egypt. The angel tells him that he can return to the land of Israel. And now listen to what the Bible says. It says, but when he heard that Archelaus was reigning over Judea instead of his father Herod, he was afraid to go there. And being warned by God in a dream, he turned aside into the region of Galilee, and he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, which is where Joseph was from, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene. Now, as I said last week, fear isn't really all bad. There's a time it can save your life, and we went into that in depth. But just because Joseph had divine directions, I mean, he got a divine, wouldn't you like an angel to show up and give you directions? That'd be pretty cool. But just because he had divine directions, he did not disregard what his fear was telling him. Archelaus, Herod's son, was a threat to his baby Jesus. And while I can't prove this, it certainly looks like Joseph was planning to settle back in Bethlehem. But being warned of God in the dream, he went to Galilee. So it looks like the Scripture's telling us that his plan was to go to Bethlehem and settle there in the house of his forefathers, in the area of his forefathers. And we might ask, why would he be thinking about taking him to Bethlehem and not Nazareth? Well, because the Scriptures had foretold, I mean, he was told that the child born in him would save the world, would be the Messiah. And so he's probably thinking like the Bible, thinking about what the Bible has to say about this. And the Bible told the people and tells us that the Messiah would be born in Bethlehem. So he's probably thinking, hey, I ought to probably settle there, because Bethlehem is only 5 miles away from the temple, an hour by camel. That means that Jesus, the Messiah, could be educated in the temple in the best schools possible. And if you're going to raise the Messiah, what would you be thinking? I'd be thinking, I got to think about how do I develop, how do I train, how do I prepare him for his mission in the world? And Joseph's like us. This is what I love about the Bible. These people are just like us. They get divine direction. They still have fear. They're trying to figure out these decisions. They're in the dark about some things they know, and they're just like us trying to figure it out. That's why I love the stories in the Bible, because they're so real. And so Joseph was thinking of sending Jesus to the temple in Jerusalem, but he heard that Archelaus was reigning in his father's stead. And Archelaus was as insecure and bloodthirsty as his father Herod. And so the danger still lingered, so the angel tells him. The angel doesn't tell him, you know what, don't worry about it, God got this covered. No, he says, basically, you're right, your fear is justified. And so Joseph took him to Galilee, and that's where he raised him, in Nazareth. So we can see how in this story, how divine direction and human decision-making actually work together. And this is the way God wants to work in our lives. He doesn't tell us everything. He tells us what we need to know, but we've got to make good decisions. And it's most likely that Galilee was Joseph's second choice as a place to raise and educate Jesus. And through divine direction and Joseph's decision-making, this is what's kind of neat. So you have the divine direction of the angel, and you have Joseph making decisions. So you kind of like you have the 30,000-foot view to make a decision from God, and he has the on-ground decision that he has to make, to navigate life. And by doing so, the Bible tells us in Matthew 2:23 that it actually led to the fulfillment of the Old Testament prophecy spoken about Jesus, when it says in verse 23, and he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets. That's the Old Testament, that he shall be called a Nazarene. In 2021, we will need to be patient because the dangers of COVID are still lingering. And patience is the capacity to accept or tolerate delay, trouble or suffering without getting upset or angry. And let's be honest, You know, when we heard about the vaccine, we all began to get in a hurry that this thing, we could go back to normal very quickly. And one of the things I'm worried about as a leader and as a pastor is that we're going to get a little bit impatient as we go into this year, hoping that the vaccine is going to turn everything around. And I think it's going to take a little bit more time. And I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I hope that I'm wrong and things go really quick. But if they don't, we need to be patient. It's not faith to throw caution to the wind and stop social distancing and stop washing our hands and do whatever we need to do. That's not faith. That's might be just anger or frustration or maybe even foolishness. And so our New Year's resolutions, they're hard to keep. They require patience of us to keep them. We need to be patient with ourselves, and we're going to have to be patient, you know, with the things that are going on around us. I want to encourage you this year, if you begin to get fearful, don't give up on yourself. Just go to God, talk to Him about it, and just reestablish faith. We're going to have times and moments of fear and anxiety. It's part of being human. So don't give up on yourself and on the New Year's resolution to be faithful instead of fearful. But we'll also need patience in 2021 because it's going to take some time for the political situation that I consider to be somewhat dark right now. It's going to take some time for that to pass and to work some things out and to find out what's really coming towards us instead of just making up things that are coming towards us. We've got to find out what's going to happen. And it'll take some time for the dangers of COVID to dissipate and for us to begin to get back to normal. And so let me just encourage you. It's going to be a great year in 2021, but we have to be patient and we don't want to run out like I did in that cave that day. We don't want to get so hyped up about seeing the light that we get ahead of ourselves. Let's be patient and let's keep our New Year's resolution. Let's work on keeping our New Year's resolution to be faithful instead of fearful. Next week, we're going to learn something that can help us not only keep our New Year's resolution, but it can help us to change our lives. We're going to look at a couple things over the next few weeks that can really help us as we seek to improve our lives and to grow in areas that we've been longing to grow at and grow in for a long time. Now let's worship together, followed by Pastor Jay, who's going to come up and explain to it what our schedule is going to look like starting next week, which is January 10th. We will be worshiping back here in the building. Pastor Jay is going to explain that and some other things that's happening here at the Nest. I want to encourage you. We're looking forward to seeing you next week. God bless you and have a happy New Year.
You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, God. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. That's right. Jesus, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. 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 Yes, you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, Jesus, you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. Oh, that is who you are. 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 Oh, yes, you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. Oh, even when I don't see it, no. Even when I don't see it, you're
So what are you committed to change in 2021? More time in the gym? Less food in your diet? Financial goals? Let's not forget to be resolute in our faith. Let's commit to spending more time with Him, and He can do the work in your life to make real changes happen. But He's looking for your and I's full cooperation as well. You know, patience teaches us a lot of Christ-like virtues, and one of them is self-restraint. In fact, in the Beatitudes, Jesus' Sermon on the Mount reminds us, "Blessed are the meek." Well, patience is a strength. It's not a weakness, and it's a fruit of the Spirit. We're so glad you're watching Eagles Nest online service today in this new year. If you have never tuned in to our online services before, a very special welcome to you. We encourage you to take a few laps around the website today and also to reach out to us and let us know you're visiting us online. We'd love the chance to say hello to you and share some more information about Eagles Nest Ministries. You can also ask us for your free t-shirt. Just send an email to hello@eaglesnest.ch. We also invite everyone to join us on our social media online campus, including our website, our Eagles Nest YouTube channel. You can follow us on our Facebook pages, connect to our Instagram app, and stay in touch with us through our church database known as Realm. We want to show you a preview of some of the Eagles Nest men's and women's Bible studies coming up. These are just mechanisms that could help you build your faith in 2021. Take a look. We have some classes here for the guys, both Zoom and live. We'd like you to sign up now. You can do that by sending us an email, or you can go into Realm. And ladies, just like the men, you can build up your faith, but you don't have to do it alone. It's better if you can walk it out with others. Just a reminder, we're going to be back to normal next Sunday, January 10th, with one live service. We've done away with the 11 o'clock service temporarily until attendance dictates that we add it again. We also will continue our online services, of course, indefinitely. Join us as we take God's Word to God's world. You can go to our website, and if you'd like to give to Eagles Nest Ministries, locate the Give tab. It's right there in the top corner of the screen, and then you can find Push Pay or Realm and help make your contribution online. And we thank you in advance for giving to Eagles Nest. We plan to be back again, live services next week, January 10th, and we're going to be kicking off the new year in 2021 in style with how to keep a New Year's resolution. Take a look at this video as we consider the new year.
I just can't keep my life together.
I can't even find a job.
I'll just never get over the abuse.
I'll always be an addict.
I know he could never forgive me. Never forgive me.
Well, I hope that inspired you as it did me. Listen, there is hope if you put your faith in Jesus Christ. If you would like prayer for any reason, we're here to minister to you. You can reach out to us today by sending us an email at hello@eaglesnest.ch, and one of the pastoral staff will connect with you. Everyone, please join us next week, January 10th, as we get back together in the building for our live 9:30 service. If you can't gather with us in person, that's okay. We'll see you right back here next week online. I hope you're having a happy new year. We'll see you then. Take care.